Welcome to the Leading Second Podcast, a space to help church leaders thrive in the second chair. The Leading Second Podcast releases every Thursday morning, so subscribe and share this with your team. Now let's jump into another episode for all of us who lead from the middle. Hello and welcome to Season 8 of the Leading Second Podcast. It's our honor to have you in this space with us today. Thanks for joining us. If you lead from the middle in any capacity, Leading Second is for you. I'm glad you're here. For this season of the podcast, our episode guides are going to be made possible by Pulpit AI. So if you want to find the notes and questions and conversation starters, you can go to leadingsecond.com/podcast and download the episode guide. You can use it with your team or for yourself to make each conversation go a little bit further. We would love it if you would help us make some noise about the podcast by sharing it with your team or posting an episode on social media, and of course, leaving ratings and reviews. It all helps to share the message and move the ministry forward. Now let's jump into the episode.
Well, I'm excited today to welcome back to the podcast a good friend of ours and a proud ministry partner of Leading Second, and that is James Grout from OneChild. Welcome, my friend. Glad you're back.
Thank you. Great to be back. What a privilege.
It has been a minute since we talked in this space. I think last time we talked, we were in the Philippines together at a hotel.
Yeah, we were. Yeah,
restaurant.
we were doing a little vision trip, seeing what OneChild was doing in the Philippines, and you pulled out a microphone and we started recording over breakfast one morning. So
those were the days of no studio mics. So this was anywhere, anytime. But man, we love OneChild, and it's been such a privilege to see your ministry unfold, to partner with it. I have a child we sponsor. My family's sponsored for years now, so we love this ministry dearly. I'm excited to talk with you today. And we've got Dillon and Leydanis Ritchie from CoastLife Church joining us on the podcast today to help me ask you some brilliant questions. Say what's up, Ritchies.
What's going on, everybody? Glad to be on again. Me and James are good friends, so I'm excited to have a conversation today about a strategic partner of ours that we've been working with for a number of years that's had such a great impact on our church. We're grateful for the partnership.
Yes, love being on with Leading Second. What an honor. Excited for today's conversation.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And James, why don't you get us started today? Just tell us about you. You've been a second chair leader yourself, and now you find yourself globetrotting around the world with OneChild and supporting the ministry's work all over the world. So just take our listeners into the world that is James Grout.
All right. Yeah, I am from a pastor's family. My father was a pastor. I pastored a church up in Calgary for most of my formative years. I'm an American by birth, but I grew up in Canada. So I don't know anything about American history until my daughter started going to school in the U.S. And I was just like, oh, that's who Abraham Lincoln is. That's interesting.
That's funny.
It's good to know. But yeah, so I grew up in a pastor's home, and I was pretty good at being a pastor's kid. I mean, pastor's kids can go one of two ways, and I definitely went one of the two ways. But God called me to ministry when I was about 18 years old, and called me away from everything else that I thought life was about. And I became a youth pastor, actually. And I was a youth pastor I went to Bible college first, but I became a youth pastor. I was a youth pastor for 20 years at a church in Wheaton, Illinois. And then from there, I became the national youth director for our denomination. It's called the Christian and Missionary Alliance. So that meant I moved to Colorado Springs, which is where the headquarters for the CMA was at that time. So I did that for 2 years. So that was like, my role there was basically kind of like being a pastor to a bunch of pastors.
Wow.
It was it was all the youth pastors across the U.S. from about 2,000 churches. They weren't all youth pastors. Some of them were youth volunteers, but the National Youth Office was sort of providing direction for all of them. So I got to work a lot with them. But And then I did a startup for a year. I don't know if any of you have ever done a startup, but they they cost a lot of money and they don't make a lot of money. So
Yes.
1 year into it, I said, I think I probably better find a job. I didn't know what I was qualified to do. And I was just looking at sort of nonprofits. I wasn't going to go back into the church role, like a church pastoral role at that point. So I was just looking around for what was available. And I found this organization called OneChild. And I didn't know if I wanted to work with children because I don't really like them that much. So, but I decided on the way, I mean, I like my children, but on the way to the interview, I decided I would not tell them that. And I'm a youth ministry guy. I'm not a children's ministry guy, but I wanted the job, so I didn't tell them. So I got the job. Yeah, they hired me, and that's just about, I'm coming up on 9 years that I've been with OneChild. So it'll be 9 years in August.
Very good. And we're going to talk about it throughout the episode, but give us just the brief overview of what OneChild does as a ministry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're a global organization. We call ourselves a global community of child champions. So we have people all around the world who are living in their own communities, living their lives, being a part of a local church where they live, but they're reaching children in those communities. They're the ones who are caring for the kids. And we call it hope in hard places. So we go to the really hard places. We go to places where resources like the kind that we can provide just are not available. And children are living in places where no one really cares about them or their development or their future. People are just in survival mode usually when they're in the slums or when they're in a really difficult rural place sometimes. So we're helping people meet the needs of the children in their communities. Specifically, we're helping churches meet the needs of the people in their communities around the world.
Yeah, when we went to the Philippines with you, I mean, we didn't just go to the Philippines. We went to Mindanao, which everyone I talked to who has been to the Philippines or is Filipino, that's just a different place. You know, different challenges on that island and poverty like I'd never seen. And yet it was amazing to see you all workers and resourcing them. And of course, helping them meet the real needs in their community. So, I mean, but that was the kind of island. I mean, you really cautioned us about posting on social media. I mean, we had to keep kind of a low profile. You know, there was different challenges safety wise on the island. There was a checkpoint we went through that I didn't have my passport with me. I learned later you're supposed to. Men with guns that I'm looking at you like, James, I do not have my passport right now.
And I was like, and I don't have my gun. So I don't know if we should not be going through the checkpoint right now. So yeah, we actually got to see some of the hardest places that we work on that trip. One was a mountain village up on top of a mountain that we almost died just getting up there.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The only way up there is either on horseback or 4x4s, like if you're driving some big 4-wheel drive trucks. And then the other one was the what they're sort of known as the sea gypsies, kind of a nomadic people who ended up just living in one place. They're no longer nomadic, but they're still called gypsies because they were wanderers for so long, and they don't have any legal rights in that country. And it was rough. We were seeing some rough places. And in the middle of all that were these incredible people who were caring for those kids and giving them a future and a hope and more chances. So
let's start here talking about the local church. And Dillon and Leydanis are going to help me tee this up for you. I think the thing that has drawn me to OneChild over the years, there's a lot of wonderful organizations doing great things, but the thing that has drawn me to OneChild is that you are for the local church and you work through the local church. Yeah. So I think maybe just start us today by talking about the church. Like, why at OneChild do you believe the local church is the hope of the world, and why do you choose to work through the church the way that you do?
Yeah. Well, you said that, that's what drew you to OneChild. That's what drew me to OneChild as well. When they started describing, I really didn't know if I wanted this job when I first went in there. But then when they just started describing the model, and the model is church partnership. And I just thought it was children's ministry, but I didn't understand what we're actually doing is we're partnering a local church with another local church. And so that creates a really sustainable partnership, long-term relationship, rather than just one sponsor to one child. It's actually it is one sponsor to one child, but it's also one church to one church, one pastor to a pastor. It's a true relationship. And there's no more effective organization on the planet at influencing the next generation than the local church.
Right.
That's right.
And if we're going to change the way things are, it's going to have to start with that next generation. That's been the truth. That's been the truth for all of history. And actually, you guys are a great example of a church partnership. Maybe you could even share, like, what's that church partnership been like for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us, one of the really cool things about our partnership with OneChild is the opportunity to develop a relationship with a church outside of the United States, and even specifically pastors that are pastoring a community. Pastor Lewis, who leads the church where the Hope Center is that we partner with, we've actually gotten to develop a pretty strong relationship with him over the years, to the point where we've been able to provide resources to help him build his church within the community. Now, he leads an incredible church that is impacting his community in Las Coronas, in the Dominican Republic. And it's given us the opportunity to make an impact in the global church through a partnership and a relationship with a local church in that area. So it's been a blessing for us as well.
And for me, being a pastor, being able to work with pastors, both here in North America and all the pastors that we work with around the world, it's actually something I didn't know if I would ever get to work with the church as closely as I did when I was a pastor myself. And that's been amazing, is that week after week, I'm in different churches every week. I'm communicating with pastors and partners all the time. When I get to take some pastors on a trip like we did, Brandon, over to the Philippines, that's one of my favorite things, is introducing my pastor friends to our global pastors and seeing what their work is about, and watching. I think sometimes people think about people living in poverty. I mean, these pastors aren't wealthy either. They're living in the same community. That's their home community. Right. And I think sometimes we forget how much dignity they have, how much wisdom they have, how much vision they have for their community. And so I love to take pastors to go get them inspired by the pastors that we're working with around the world.
It's humbling. I mean, it's humbling to see the faithfulness of God's people.
Right.
Because God's people are needed to operate faithfully in every context. We need faithful pastors in wealthy contexts, and we need faithful pastors in impoverished contexts.
Right.
And it's amazing to see what they're willing to do for the kingdom of God. I think every pastor, I think every leader should see it. Because it's really inspiring, and will really make you examine your motives. We in the Western world, we live in such blessing, and we shouldn't not proposing that we apologize for the blessing, but we have to realize the context in which we're working.
Right.
And their context is very inspiring. That, I guess, their faithfulness in that place.
Yeah, that's one of the things, like when I see what the pastors and the volunteers in their churches, what they do to a community, for a community, there's no one else in the community who cares. There's nobody else. They are it. They are God's hands and feet in in that place because there's no one else there who even cares about those kids or really even cares about their community that much.
I guess I have a question for you, and I just want to clarify. I don't really have a bone to pick with any specific organization when I ask this question, but I do want to ask this question because on principle, I have a bone to pick. And that is where do missions organizations miss it when they try to work independently of the local church? That I have heard more than one story of young people being exposed to parachurch or missions type organizations and actually developing a bent against the local church.
Yep.
And I just don't find it helpful.
Nope.
I think we got to kind of call not an organization, but we got to call the principle out. And I guess I just appreciate how different you all are in that. So without being specific toward one place, just why does that approach not work well?
Well, parachurch organizations are absolutely necessary, but if they exist outside of the church and do nothing to dovetail in, I guess you could say, with the church, if they can't find a way, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable long term. It's going to be maybe meeting some needs, but we're not just about meeting needs. We're about making disciples. Like we're not just trying to answer one problem. And so if you don't align yourself with the church, then the whole point of what you're trying to do, which I think the whole point is discipleship. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to help people who are far from God get to know God and then grow in relationship as a follower of God. And you can't do that without the church. You really can't. And you can, but it's never going to be healthy. It's not going to be multiplying. It's not going to be a long-term strategy for development. Or discipleship. Development and discipleship development is kind of the secular word that I use for discipleship. That's in my mind, those are the same words. Development for the programs that we run for the children and the teenagers in those communities. We call it development because that's what it is, holistic development, but it's discipleship. That's the spiritual word for what it is.
That's brilliant. I remember when we went back in 2020, it was literally the week of COVID and the shutdown, and we were all looking at each other. We were like, do we still go? We didn't know what was happening. And I remember we heard that this specific Hope Center hadn't had anyone visit them for years. Anytime there was someone scheduled to go, it was canceled or something happened. And they were hanging on by a thread of this hope that we would go. And I remember we decided, we were like, we're going to go. And it was beautiful to see the impact that the local church had in this community. And you travel extensively. What have you noticed in communities where the local church is present, where the local church is moving? Like, what do you notice in those neighborhoods? What impact is the local church having?
That's a great question. And this is true of, you guys partner in the Dominican Republic, and this is true of one of the relationships I have down there. I was talking to this church president. He's the president of a denomination there in that island, on that part of the island. And he has like 100 churches that are under his care. He oversees 100 churches, 100 pastors. And he said, I want OneChild Hope Centers in all of them. Yep. And which that's not practical because some of them they don't have enough volunteers to have a Hope Center, all that stuff, but it's a great vision. So I asked him why do you want that? Like, he said, this is how he said, I believe in growth and I believe in multiplication. And he said, this is our plan. This is the way we're going to do it. We're going to reach the children. The children are going to, when they start coming to our programs, they're going to start bringing their parents. And that's how we're going to reach this community. That's how we're going to change the communities where we live.
Great.
And that's the exact same vision that you all have for your church, right? In your community.
That's
like
right.
You're reaching out to your community because you care about them. You want to know them. You want them to be known by God as well. So you're doing exactly what these pastors are doing around the world. And so we share that, like we share that mission. So those children in those communities, I have so many stories I could tell. I won't go into all of them, but I can just tell you that one of the things that happens is all of a sudden parents go, "Why are my kids being polite?
Wow.
Like, who's teaching my kids to be polite? Because I certainly didn't teach them to be polite. Why, my kids wash their hands before they eat dinner now. Who taught them that? They never did that before.
Yeah.
Who are these people who want to help my child excel at school by giving them tutoring? And when you do that, as a mom and as a dad, when someone cares about your child, that means something.
Wow.
So I remember one story of a kid who came from a really, really bad home. His dad had already kind of walked out on the family. His mom had significant, she was a drug user, alcohol user, and she had an anger problem. And he was just scared all the time. He was embarrassed too. She would get angry and she would destroy the only valuable thing they had in their house was a TV, and she would destroy the TV, and the neighbors would hear and see, and he was embarrassed, and he just didn't see a future. He couldn't see a future. And then one of the neighbors said, "You need to get enrolled in this program. This church has a program for children." He went, he's an adult now. And he told me, he said, I went in the first day, the Hope Center director came over and she gave me a big hug. And he said, I knew I was home. Like I knew this was my family from now on. Right. And he looks back on and now he's the kind of guy who goes back and volunteers and helps other kids in the same situation. Yeah. But he'd never known love. He'd never felt loved by someone like that. And, that story is repeated over and over and over again by our older students.
That's awesome.
In the programs. Yeah.
Well, we've talked a bit about Hope Centers. Let's just dial that in for a minute. Give us kind of a flyby of OneChild strategy with Hope Centers. And what exactly do you all do to care for and meet the needs of a community through the Hope Center? I love that you see it and it's used as kind of this growth strategy for a church, but what actually happens at Hope Center? Because I have to say, I think I saw some sites where you were looking to put Hope Centers, and then I saw some that actually weren't, just excellent. I mean, pure excellence going on from what I saw and experienced. So maybe just dial that in for us for a minute.
Yeah. Well, I'd start with how we define hope. Our president says hope is a vision of a better future, a way to get there, and the courage to try. So when a child comes into one of our Hope Centers, they've got this, all of a sudden they have this idea that maybe things aren't as bad as I think they are. Maybe there is something better tomorrow. Maybe there is something down the road that could be a preferred future for me. But they begin to have hope. Like that's the spark of hope, is just believing that maybe there's something that could happen. So that's the first part of the definition, is hope is a vision of a better future. But you also need a pathway. How do you get from here to there? If you just give them ideas, then it's just like it doesn't lead anywhere. It doesn't actually lead to the fulfillment of that hope. It's just like a pipe dream that they can't reach because there's no way to get there. So the way to get there in the way I think about what we do, the way to get there is the program that we have that children get to be a part of, and that program helps them with staying in school, getting their education, trying to get them high school graduated if at all possible. Nutrition, making sure that they're getting a good meal whenever they're around, and medical screening, a safe place just to be a child. If you've ever been in the slums, or if you've ever been in one of those places, it's not safe. Children are out there playing, but they shouldn't be. It's not a safe place for them. So here's a place that is safe, filled with people who are safe. And so that's part of the Hope Center as well. And then all of those volunteers, they come from the local church. So the kids get to hear the gospel. That's part of that's why we call it holistic. It's everything. They're getting all the physical things that they need, the emotional things that they need, the relational things that they need, even psychological. Now we have a lot of kids, almost all of these kids are dealing with some trauma in their life, some level of trauma in their life. And so we have counselors for them, but they also get to, my own sponsored child. She didn't really go to church until she joined the program this is in the Philippines. And then she became like one of the worship leaders for the church, because she just she loved to sing so much. And she loved, especially like she loved her Bible classes, and she loved all of that. So that's the way to get there. Okay. So you've got this better future that you're seeing, and you have hope. You have a way to get there, which is this program. But the last part of that definition is the courage to try, because it's not going to be easy. It's not an easy pathway. It's going to be a difficult pathway. There will be ups and downs. I mean, we could talk about all the kids who come in and get a hug and are really cared for and loved for, but those kids have difficult homes. They have difficult families. They have physical needs. They have all kinds of things that are going on. So where do you get the courage to try? That comes from those volunteers. That's what they're there for. What we do is actually support those volunteers so that those children can thrive.
Wow.
We empower the volunteers so that the children have a chance to thrive, because they're the ones. It's cool to be a sponsor of a child, but the impact that you're having is that you're introducing them to a community that's going to care for them.
Absolutely.
It's not just about you as their sponsor. It's really about that community there that's going to care for them. So that's why we call them hope centers. That's all that's going on there. We're building hope. We're hope dealers.
Love it.
Yeah, James, we don't just support what you do. We don't just partner with you, but we actually believe in what you do. And it's because it's a personal experience of ours to see what your organization is doing in these areas. I've been there 3 times now to this specific community. And here's what I will tell you that I've seen that OneChild is changing the lives of children. It's building the local church, and it's impacting the surrounding community. And we've been able to actually partner with them to do that. Obviously, through our opportunity to sponsor children as members of our church, we get to partner in this idea of helping to change children's lives. But then beyond that, as we built a relationship with the church, we've actually been able to do a Spark project with you guys and put a second story on the Hope Center so they could host more children. So now we're building the local church together. And then when we go out into the community during those community walks, like it has now gotten to the point where people aren't confused or wondering what we're doing. They're expecting us to be there. Yeah. Like they're expecting our church and our people to be walking through their community once a year. And these are not people that we're meeting for the first time. These are relationships and people that we are reconnecting with. So I know I could talk all day what our partnership with you means to us, but maybe if you would just take a moment and you would talk to a lead pastor or an executive pastor over missions and maybe talk to them from your perspective about how they are partnering with you can make an impact in a community, maybe far beyond the United States.
Yeah, thank you, first of all, for saying that. But secondly, thank you so much for your partnership. I mean, it's yours is one of the longest standing partnerships that I've had since I've been with OneChild.
Wow.
Your pastor, Jason, went on my very first vision trip to the Dominican Republic. He was on that pastor's vision trip, and that was my first day on the job. I went to the Dominican Republic. It was my birthday. I remember it very well because it was my birthday, and I was going down there with your pastor and a bunch of other pastors, and I was still struggling with this idea of should I even be doing this if I don't really care about children's ministry that much? And it was on that trip that I was like, okay, if our programs produce the kinds of teenagers that I'm meeting in these hope centers, they've grown up in the program. I forgot that children grow up. I was like, is it just children's ministry? Because I kind of like teenagers. And they're like, no, there's tons of teenagers. They all start out as children in the ministry, but they're.
Oh, I think my sponsored child, Andy, I think he's 12, 13 now, I'm like, we started sponsoring you when you were young elementary age.
Right. And so when I see guys like that, who've been around there for a while, and I see the impact that it's had on their life compared to their peers who are not in a program, who are out on the streets, who are mostly in gangs usually, or they're picking through the garbage dump or doing something like that. They don't have that same thing. I'm getting back to your question. It's a long way. It's a long way around to get back to the question, but all of that happens because a pastor has a vision for his neighborhood, for his community, and you as a church have been so supportive of that community. And I know one of the things that you've done when you go down there is you throw a little party for the volunteers. Like you actually, the child champions get to be honored because what they do is hard and pretty thankless sometimes.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you're giving, that's so much better than if you went down and built them a kitchen. They can build a kitchen. They've got construction guys and we can help fund that. But for you to build them up and encourage them in the job that they're doing is that's amazing. So I think I really believe that. Well, here's what I believe. This is a friend of mine says this, but I've taken it to heart. When we do short-term trips, we should return from those trips with stories of the global church. That's what we should be coming home with, because I think sometimes they feel left out. They feel alone. They feel like it's all a struggle and it's very difficult where they are. But to know that they're supported and that there's somebody who's on their team, that's somebody who's actually for them, and I think that's huge. So we're not just taking care of kids. We're empowering pastors. We're empowering
Very good.
People's discipleship.
Beautiful. Let me ask you this. If you're talking to a pastor right now, listening, maybe an executive pastor, a missions or outreach director, just somebody who wants to make a difference internationally, but doesn't know where to start, why does this approach make sense for a local church, to come alongside, be a part of? How does this help fulfill that church's desire to make a global impact? I guess what would you tell them about how to get started?
Yeah. Well, the impact is going to be on your congregation as well. You're not just you're not joining somebody else or supporting somebody else. You're getting engaged. You're getting your people engaged in the work that is happening globally. And what we can maybe talk about this in a bit, but we're innovating right now in ways that's going to make it way more personal than it's ever been. It's going to be much more effective when it comes to those long distance partnerships, long distance relationships. They're going to feel a lot closer as we make some technological advancements, and pretty soon it's going to transform everything that we do. And I think it's going to transform everything that a lot of organizations like ours do. It's going to have to change. So yeah, we can talk a little bit more about that. But think about this, that child sponsorship as a model, and really I don't call us a child sponsorship organization. It's church health organization, but child sponsorship as a model has been around for like 100 years and has not changed really at all. Like there's been no innovation to the way it's been done. So letter writing is still a thing, and feeling all the guilt of not writing a letter is still the same, because your child will write you a couple of letters every year, and so how do we manage that? How do we fix that problem that we're not really having a ongoing, continuing relationship with that child? So we've got an app that will make that possible now, where I won't have time to get into everything about it, but it's going to be part of what's going to happen in this app is you'll sponsor a child through the app, but you'll also be joining a community. Your church and your community will be joining their community, and you'll all be able to see the activity inside the app. It's a little bit like a social media platform, but you'll be able to see all the activity inside the app as people are sending videos or photos to their child, and their child is getting to see those and then send a photo or video back. It's all very secure. It's not on the child's own phone or anything like that, but it's going to change. It's going to change how those relationships feel. And so back to your question, which is why get involved or how to get involved. There's now many ways that we can work with a local church in the U.S. And actually soon almost anywhere in the world. It could be Ireland, it could be anywhere. And and really it's just a matter of, do you have partners already? Like if you already have a partner somewhere that you're working with and they want to expand in the area of outreach into their community through children's ministry or something like that, that's what we're really good at is kids programs, then we can do that. Like it's as simple as that. We can do that. We can help you do that. We can be the catalyst between your local church and that church partner that you have somewhere else in the world. And if you're a local church and you don't have any church partners anywhere in the world, well, we've got that too. That's easy for us to do. It's easy for us to connect you somewhere, almost anywhere. But we can do that for you pretty simply. And what I love about what we do is that and maybe you guys can share testimony to this. It actually brings your community together as well. When you have a vision for a place and you decide this is where we're going and we're going all in and we're going to all together sponsor these children from this community, and then we're going to do trips to go and meet them and see them, all of that. Once you make that decision, that changes your missional outlook on life, not just global missions, but just your outlook as a follower of Jesus. I always say, I'm probably quoting somebody or misquoting somebody, but someone always used to say, you cannot not be on mission if you're a follower of Jesus.
Yeah.
You can forget sometimes that you're on mission, but you are on mission. If you're a follower of Jesus, you're on mission.
That's
because
right.
the Great Commission was for all of us. And it wasn't the Great Commission is not to go overseas. That's one piece of it, but that's not what the Great Commission is. The Great Commission is calling all of us to be disciple makers everywhere we go at any time. So
that's right.
So getting to engage with the mission of God in your own church with your own people, as well as globally and locally, all of that. I think that's the beauty of what we do.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. Just getting to hear about the impact that OneChild is having. And I love that you just said, like, we do it with our church where you sponsor a child and then you get to go meet them in person. I don't think many people may know that when your church partners with a Hope Center, then there's an opportunity to go meet the child. So whether you've sponsored them for 1 year, 5 years, like there will be a time where you get to go, you get to be with them, you get to pray for them. And I think that's so unique to what OneChild does, because we're physically bringing the gospel to a lost place. We're physically giving them hope. And it's so powerful. And I think there's going to be churches that are listening, leaders that are listening. And right now they're kind of getting ready. They're like, okay, I want to know more. I want to get connected with OneChild. I want to partner with them. I want to be the capital C church. What is the most practical step that they can take? Like right after this episode, what can they do to know more about OneChild and partner with you guys?
Yeah, well, my job title is Global Partnership Manager. So reach out if you're listening and this is either inspiring or at least intriguing. Then you can reach out to me directly. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be some information. I don't know how do you inform your people of things?
We'll do it.
Get them my email, pass them my cell phone number, whatever it is.
Yeah. I just have to say, you have our full endorsement as a ministry. We love OneChild. Yeah. We would love nothing more than for pastors out there who have a desire to make an impact outside of your local community, particularly internationally. I think we all need an outlet like that. And I would say this has to be the most effective I've ever seen. And I can vouch for the excellence of the ministry on the ground, along with Dillon and Lay's money well invested. And again, local church building. I think just to bring it back around, one tension in the Leading Second and Team Church tribe that we're really careful on is just really prioritizing investing in the local church. There's a lot of things we can chase. But the way that Pastor Kevin would say it is the local church is the goose that lays the golden egg. If you want the golden egg, take care of the goose, right? Mm-hmm. Because the goose continues to produce in every context of the world, in every generation of people, the local church, her resilience and her ability to be effective in every part of the world is unmatched by anyone anywhere in history.
Right.
And so your view of and work through the local church was what sold me. And it just feels so in line, I think, with who we are as a tribe.
Yes.
I guess wanted to kind of put that stamp on it and just say, thank you, James. Thank you for building the church. Thank you for all the airline miles and for sitting. God knows you got more than any of us, for sitting with the pastors and giving them hope. So many of them, I mean, I've sat in so many conferences and so many rooms, and so many don't have those opportunities. And a visit by a local church or yourself or the OneChild team and what it means to them and how it breathes life into their faithfulness. I mean, it's just inspiring to me. So I think putting this stamp on it, just saying we're in, and any pastor that has the opportunity to make that kind of local church impact, just consider this as a way to do it easily and effectively. And I need to get over to the Philippines, actually meet Andy. I've supported him for years. And I'm one of those people that needs the app because I'm awful. We've written a little bit, but man, I know, and I've prayed for him. I just know that there's a life developing in a way that wouldn't have developed another way. And I've seen the type of Hope Center he is a part of and such. So I'm rambling. Just thank you for your work, James, and for OneChild. We really love it and are proud of it.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I'll add this, because I was a youth pastor for 20 years, sitting under the same lead pastor. He was there for 34 years. I was there for 20, and those overlapped. I really appreciate your vision for second chair leaders, because youth pastors can be a pretty difficult role, because you're seen as, this isn't as true as it used to be, but you're seen as a little bit of like an idiot. You're the guy who does stupid stuff and gets in trouble. And
I mean, we did that, right?
Has to have parent meetings and all that stuff. Like, we have to have another parent meeting because James did something dumb. But to honor second chair leaders the way you guys are doing it is super inspiring, and that's why I want to be a part of this. That's why we're here. Actually, that's the kind of partners that I want, is the ones who are caring for some people who are often overlooked. So I love that.
Second chair is not second class, is what we say around here, James.
Yeah. And first class is also not second class. That's what I've learned from flying. There is a clear delineation between those two. It's a curtain. It really should probably be a locking door. There should be a door between those two.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. My airline miles did get me the lay down bed to and from the Philippines. I wasn't complaining. I just didn't really.
You complained about the spiders. You didn't complain about the flight. You just complained about the spiders.
You're about to turn off some sponsors if you go there, but I guess we'll just say props to Josh Bingle, because he was sharing a room with me, and this spider. We were out in the jungle. God only knows where you had us. By the way,
it's truly God only knows, because I don't know where we were.
This is the end of the podcast. So now most people have tuned out. So now we can get to the real stories. I have a bone to pick with you. And the bone I have to pick with you is, on that trip, I had done my due diligence before the trip of like, where are we staying? Where are we going? And you were super upfront about all of it. And then we land in Manila, and you handed us a new itinerary, and it had this like night out at like a jungle stop, and the entire facility is made of bamboo. And I was like, James Grout, this was not on the agenda. This was not, I researched every hotel. This was not on the agenda. And
you might have looked for it, but it's nowhere online. You never would have done that one.
So the spider appears in our room before bed. And somehow one of us Googled that these particular spiders are nocturnal. And so what had drawn the spider out was that we had turned the lights out in the room while we were out to dinner. And so my proposition to Josh Bingle was, we're going to sleep with the lights on tonight, because theoretically that would keep the spiders away so I spray my entire bed with bug spray. I am sure that did nothing except make us high. I spray my entire bed with bug spray. I take Ambien just to like forcefully knock myself out. I zip up all my suitcases to make sure no spider comes home with us. And I just laid there like this. And Josh probably just thought I was an idiot and made him sleep with the lights on. But that's my war story from Mindanao.
Well, the worst part was the spider just sat there on the ceiling the whole night watching you. No. He disappeared up into the ceiling, like in the light socket. And then whoever was doing the Google research that these are, what are they called? Like something like pack spiders. In other words, they're communal. They're communal spiders, which most spiders are not. And they can live in groups of 200 to 300. Okay. And we're out in the jungle. I was like, there's 200 or 300 spiders in that ceiling. I know there is. I know there's
watching. There are other Hope Centers not in the Philippines. Don't worry.
And we are never going back to that one, I can promise.
Oh, well, anyways, thank you for a very memorable experience and the reason my daughter will never go to the Philippines now. She has told me. Okay, James, we love you. Thank you so much.
Love you too. Thanks. This was great.
To talk to you today. Yeah, bless you guys. Thank you, Dillon, Lays, and Leading Second. We love you. It's an honor to be with you every week. We have another episode to go before we are on a summer break. So we will see you next week on the Leading Second podcast. Until then, let's run strong for the kingdom and lead in an uncommon way together. God bless you.
It is our honor to serve churches and leaders across the globe. We equip ministry leaders with the coaching, events, and resources needed to embrace their calling, get it right with their pastor, and lead in an uncommon way. Visit our website, leadingsecond.com, to learn how we can come alongside you as you lead from the middle. From the second chair, for the second chair.